Yes, indeed.
Hey there, guys. Howie here. And I'm just doing a review of a trade I did back in November, specifically November the 8th. And it was a terrible trade, I guess. It was one of those trades where I switched a day trade into a swing trade. Um, and the results were not good. I had at one point, 50 plus $1,000 downswing. And so let me sort of give you a little bit of a backstory. So the weed stock had been moving quite a bit for several months. I'll just backtrack here. Whoops. Um, if I just back it up, this is a 3 month, so let's go back, say 6 months or so. You can see a massive upswing, peaked out almost at 75 bucks, trailed between say 60 and 70, peaked again, breached into $76, tanked all the way down to $41, and had been retracing back up into the $60 range. So I day traded a few times over the days before, and this November the 8th was sort of the big Achilles heel. So I'm just going to reset it back to 3 months. So right here, November the 8th, I came into the stock near the end of the day. I picked it up for 55.55, which is an easy to remember number, and I ended up closing actually up about 40 or 50 cents from there. And instead of selling it for a little bit of a profit, I purchased 2,500 shares, which was a big chunky number for me, over $130,000 worth. I decided to hold it because I misread the market, or I just had a feeling, or whatever. No necessary reason behind it, but I did decide to hold it. And then what happened was, I obviously was watching the market the next day, and it opened and almost immediately tanked this day, the very next day. So it gapped down from $55, opened down at under 54.50, we'll say 54.30. So it had gapped down $1.25 over the aftermarket, and almost immediately sold off. Just tank the next day, all the way down to 51.50, and I sort of froze at that point. I hadn't put a stop loss in. I had no plans for if the stock just tanked off the next day. It wasn't in my mind. And so I just basically froze, and I just walked away from my computer and said, I don't know what to do. And it went from opened and I was down 1,500, and all of a sudden it was 2,500 and 3,000 and 3,500, and I just spinning mind sort of thing. And then I just held the stock, and I said, okay, I started looking at the support back here in the $47 to $46 range, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm going to hold this thing for a week, maybe I'm going to hold it for 2 weeks, but I'm in it now. So essentially decided to change from a day trade to a swing trade. And as you can see by this chart, I held the stock through this entire period. So here we're in the $51 range. We were even the next day, up a marginal amount, but still $51 is still $4 down per share. So that's about 10,000 down over the trade. Gap down the next day, gap down like crazy the next day. So on November the 14th, it gapped down to $46, so now I'm down $9 a share. And then for the next, let's say 10 days consecutively, it bounced between as low as 40 and between 40 and 45. Then sold off all the way to 30, 36. And at this point, I was almost $50,000 down on the trade had I sold at that point. It rebounded, and each one of these sort of pull-ups, I had a little bit of positive momentum and some ideas of, okay, this is the time. And then each day after day, it was disappointing all the way through Christmas. At the worst day, which was Christmas Eve, the stock was trading as low as $43. So that would have put the trade at minus 50K, which is about a third of the entire roll that I'm working with now. So just from a day trade back here in early November, and suddenly less than 2 months later, you're looking at a third of of your account just potentially getting wiped out. So obviously kept on holding. Then in early January, there was some good news for this stock, and for consecutive days. I think right here on the 14th was, I'm pretty sure it was the day where they were approved to sell weed in New York State, I believe. And there was a huge 10% uprising. And I ended up selling about half the shares in the $43 range or $53 range, and then the other half in the $54 range. And then you can see for the last 4 or 5 days, it's been bouncing between, 50, 53 and 58, we'll say. So yeah, that was a challenge. That was a lesson learned. I don't know what to say about that, aside from have a plan going into every trade and don't just fly by the seat of your pants. I feel very fortunate to convert that into a break-even trade, but at the end of the day, it was ignorant. I didn't have a plan to hold it for 2 months. It froze my ability to do anything else for those 2 months because I was fully invested. And I think, when you sell a stock close to even that once was a massive loser, it feels just as much of a win as when you sell a stock up 15 or 20%. So I thought I'd share that with you as maybe a lesson for you guys to, have a absolute plan going into every trade. If it's going to be a day trade, if you're day trading for the day, then stick with that and don't let some, unless there's an absolute definitive reason to hold it. And even when you do, put a stop loss in there so that you don't wake up the next day and, all hell breaks loose. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. The overall results were minus. So these were the 2 times. Let me see right here. Oh, maybe I traded in 3-part chunks. Oh no, that was the same day. So these are the 2 sell-off points. I sold 1,000 shares when it got up to 52.94, and then the remainder at 54.95. So I ended up losing about 3,500 in that trade. But obviously 3,500 compared to 50,000 is a significant difference. So anyway, that's all I have for now. Hope you enjoyed this video. Any questions or comments or, chirps, I'm open. Feel free to call me and ask. This has been Howie. Thanks for watching.
Yes, indeed.